You can notice the leaf which is green in color. They are arising from the nodal region. And you can notice here the venation pattern also. They are exhibiting reticulate venation. See the stalk of the leaf, we call it as petiole, and this leaf surface, the entire surface of leaf, we call it as the leaf lamina, or we also call it as leaf blade or leaf lamina. So you can notice in this leaf a prominent midrib which gives rise to veins branches to form veinlets. So this network pattern, it is a dicot leaf that you can notice is network pattern, reticulate venation you can notice. Okay, at the base of the leaves, sometimes they have small leaf-like structures, which we call it as stipules. Small leaf-like structures, which we call it as stipules. Okay, so the leaf tip you can notice, and margins. Here the margins are smooth in this particular background picture. You can notice that the leaves margins are smooth. In some of them, they have serrate margin, like in leaf of rose. You can notice serrate margin, just like the carpenter saws serrations. You can notice the serrate margins, dentate. So different types of things you can notice. Here it is almost oval shaped leaf. In some of them they are elongated leaf, lanceolate we call it as. So different shapes of leaves are there. Some of the leaves are kidney shaped. So you start observing, and now the assignment for today would be collecting different shapes of leaves and pressing it in a newspaper and having it as leaf marker. For once you have a leaf as a leaf marker for your notes, that you can do. So please do that. So press it, and you can use this press leaves as leaf marker. So collect the different shapes of leaves from the vegetation found within your area. Don't go out and explore. Since we are in lockdown, don't do that. Okay. So the leaf, you know that commonly it is considered to be the kitchen of the plant because they undergo photosynthesis. Leaf has a large number of chloroplasts, and this chloroplast they are going to capture, conserve, and convert the solar electromagnetic radiation into the uh, chemical energy. And here they also have stomata. In dicot leaf, we call it as dorsiventral leaf. The upper surface would be dark green, the lower surface would be light green. And you find stomata only in the lower surface. So we call this sort of leaf as dorsiventral leaf. You can differentiate between dorsal surface and ventral surface, and you have stomata in the ventral region. Okay, since the stomata is found only in the lower epidermis, we call the dicot leaf as hypostomatic. Whereas monocot leaves, if you look into it, they'll be isobilateral. That is, both the dorsal and ventral surface will have the same colors and they get equal exposure to sunlight. And you find stomata on both the surfaces, upper epidermis and lower epidermis, you find the stomata. So monocot leaf is called as isobilateral leaf and amphistomatic. That is, stomata is equally distributed in the upper epidermis and lower epidermis. Whereas in dicot leaf, they are dorsiventral leaf. The upper layer of epidermis does not have stoma, and only the lower layer of epidermis has the stoma. Through the stoma, the carbon dioxide and other things also enter. That is also a region where they undergo transpiration. Leaves undergo transpiration, that is loss of water in the form of water vapor. So we'll be reading about and studying about transpiration in plant physiology further. So just understand the parts of a leaf and what is its function. It is the kitchen of the plant where they synthesize the food. The entire ecosystem, that is the consumers, primary, secondary consumers, they are all surviving because of this photosynthesis that the plants have. So the synthesized food, and this food is consumed by the herbivores, and the herbivores are in turn consumed by carnivores. So the flow of energy from sun, which is fixed by the leaves, that flow of energy takes place in producers and consumers. Okay, so it goes through the herbivores and carnivores. So it is a leaf is a lateral flattened structure born on the stem. They are found born on the stem. So leaf is a lateral flattened structure born on the stem. It develops from the node and bears a bud at its base of its leaf stalk. We call it as axil. So the axillary bud later develops into a branch. So the leaves are arising from the shoot apical meristem and they are arranged in an acropetal manner. The older leaves are found at the base and younger leaves are found at the tip. So leaves arise from the shoot apical meristem and are arranged in an acropetal manner where the older leaves are found at the base and younger leaves are found at the apex. So they are important vegetative organs for photosynthesis. So in the first slide, you can see the leaves. They are the lateral flattened structure born on the stem. So now the parts of the leaf, if you look, they arise from the nodal region. So the leaves originate from the nodal region. They have a stalk. This leaf stalk, we call it as petiole. And the leaf surface, we call it as the leaf blade or lamina. So they have a prominent midrib. Midrib branches to form the veins and veinlets. So the leaf margin, here you can notice almost serrate margin. Okay, so the axillary bud is found at the base of the leaf. So this axillary buds are later going to develop to form the branches. Okay, so that is one point you have to remember. So leaves are important vegetative organs for photosynthesis. They are the important vegetative organs for the photosynthesis. There are small leaf-like structures found at the base of the leaf. We call it as stipules. Okay, so that is also one structure you have to remember about. Then the acropetal arrangement, you can see in the fourth slide, the older leaves are present at the base and the younger leaves are at the tip. So we call this arrangement of leaves as acropetal order. And these leaves are developing from shoot apical meristem. That you have to remember. So leaves are important organs for photosynthesis. They are the kitchen of the plant. Leaves are the kitchen of the plant. So parts of a leaf, three main parts of a typical leaf are leaf base, petiole, lamina or leaf blade we call it as. So the parts of a leaf, any one diagram you can draw. The first slide here, this sort of diagram is sufficient. It is in case of Daswala, the leaf is that of hibiscus. So you can notice the leaf base is there and the leaf stalk, we call it as petiole. The entire surface of the leaf, we call it as leaf blade or lamina. The margins of the leaves, you can notice there. A prominent midrib is there. Veins and veinlets are there. You can notice this reticulate venation. A small leaf-like structure is found at the base of the at the leaf base. We call it a stipule, and you can also notice this axillary bud at the leaf base, which later develops to form the branches. Okay, they are the parts of the leaves. So three main parts of a typical leaf is leaf base, petiole, lamina, or we also call it as leaf blade. So the tip of the leaf, we call it as leaf apex. Okay, the parts of a leaf, if we when we go into it, the leaf is attached to the stem. It has two lateral leaf-like structures, which we call it as stipules. In monocots, the leaf base, they are going to expand. See in this slide, the monocot, the leaf base is expand into sheath, leaf sheath we call it as, and it sheets around the stem. So the leaf base expands into a sheath covering the stem partially or completely. In some of the leguminous plants, we'll be studying about this Papilionaceous, the Fabaceae family. So the leaf base is swollen structure. It looks like biceps. We call this as pulvinus. In some of the leguminous plants, the leaf base may become swollen, and this structure is called as pulvinus. So remember about this part of the leaf base. Okay. In case of monocotyledonous plants, the leaf base is sheathing and it encircles the complete stem or partially it encircles. So sheathing leaf base you can notice in case of monocotyledonous plants. In leguminous plants, the leaf base is swollen and we call that as pulvinous. Second description is the petiole. The petiole helps to hold the leaf blade to light. So the petiole helps to hold the leaf blade to sunlight. So in place so that they receive the sunlight. So the petiole helps to hold the leaf blade to receive sunlight. The petiole is long, thin, flexible, and it allows the leaf blades to flutter in the wind. It helps them to move in the wind, thereby cooling the leaf and bringing fresh air to leaf surface. So especially they would be saturated by the water vapor during transpiration. So this sort of fluttering of the leaf helps in uh, removing that saturated areas. Okay, so the long, thin, flexible petioles, their function is it allows the leaf blades to flutter in wind, thereby cooling the leaf and bringing fresh air into the leaf surface. That is the role of petiole. So the lamina is the green expanded part with veins and veinlets. So the middle prominent vein, we call it as midrib. So the veins provide rigidity to lamina, that is strength to the lamina, and they act as these veins act as channels for transport of water, minerals, and food materials because the xylem and phloem are located in these veins. So they also have sclerenchyma. So they provide rigidity to lamina and they also act as channels of transport for water, minerals, and food materials. So remember about this role of leaf lamina and the veins. Their exact role is to act as channels of transport for water, minerals, and food materials. So you also notice the venation pattern in leaves. So you find the two types of venation pattern, that is the reticulate venation and parallel venation. So the venation is the arrangement of veins and veinlets in leaf lamina. We call it as venation. So there are two types of venation: reticulate venation, which we notice in case of dicot leaf, and parallel venation, which we can notice in case of monocot leaf. So here you have a leaf of bamboo where you can see the parallel venation. They are converging at a point, parallel convergent, whereas in banana leaf they are divergent, parallel divergent. Okay. In reticulate venation, here the veinlets form a network. It is like a mesh-like pattern. They have a prominent midrib, and they have this veins and veinlets which are branched to form a network pattern. So that is the reason we call it as reticulate venation. So you can see the first two above slide with reticulate venation and much more intricate level of this reticulate venation where you can find them branching. So veins branching into veinlets. So you can notice there. In case of parallel veins, the veins run parallel to the each other within a lamina, that is within the leaf. So you can notice the parallel venation in the banana leaf also. It is seen in monocots. So reticulate venation is seen in dicotyledonous plants. Parallel venation is seen in monocotyledonous plants. Now the types of leaves. So the leaves are of different type. Simple leaf, compound leaf. Simple leaf is the petiole gives rise to a single leaf. We call it a simple leaf. Compound leaf, they have many leaflets. Compound leaf might be pinnately compound or it might be palmately compound. So compound leaf can be pinnately compound or palmately compound. So you can see the slides of a simple leaf. The petiole directly ends into a leaf, whereas in the compound leaf, the petiole is going to give rise to many leaflets. Okay, and the petiole here, we don't call it as petiole, we call it as rachis. In case of compound leaf, we call it as rachis, on which the leaflets arise. Then here there is an example of a palmately shaped leaf. It is not compound leaf, it is a palmately shaped leaf. Even in case of castor plant, papaya plant, you can notice such palmately shaped leaf. So the oak leaf is an example for that. Now compound leaf, as I told you, they have a the petiole is elongated to form the rachis and they have leaflets. Compound leaf can be of two types. If the leaves are arranged just like feathers, we call it as pinnately compound, or if the leaves are arranged just like palm, we call it as palmately compound leaves. See, the leaf lamina in simple leaf is entire, or when it is incised, the incisions do not touch the midrib. So that sort of incisions do not touch the midrib. You can notice that in case of oak leaf. The entire leaf is entire, or when incised, that is when they are cut, this cuts do not touch the midrib. So that sort of leaves, we call it as simple leaf. So you can notice simple leaf in oak trees, the simple leaf in hibiscus, you can notice a simple leaf. And they have a prominent midrib also. In compound leaf, the incisions of the lamina reach up to the midrib, breaking it into a number of leaflets. A bud is seen in the axil of petiole in simple and compound leaves, but not in the axil of leaflets in compound leaf. That is also another difference. See, in case of simple leaf, the bud is found only at the base of the simple leaf. In case of compound leaf, the bud is found only at the axial of the petiole, but this bud is not noticed in axil of leaflets. They are noticed only at the base of the uh, petiole, not in the axils of the leaflets. So that is noticed in case of compound leaf. Compound leaves are of two types. Pinnately compound leaf, as you can see the diagram here, they are like the arrangement of petals, the arrangement of feather-like structures. Pinna means feather-like structures. So whereas in palmately they are arranged just like the palm. You can notice the palmately compound leaf from a single point, many leaflets arise. This sort of palmately compound leaf you can notice in the silk cotton tree. So in a pinnately compound leaf, a number of leaflets are present on a common axis. See, in compound leaf, we don't call the axis as petiole. We instead term it as rachis. So number of leaflets are present on a common axis called rachis, which represents the midrib of the simple leaf. In the simple leaf, it would have been midrib of the leaf. Example, neem is an example for pinnately compound leaf. Okay, then palmately compound leaf, in these, the leaflets are attached at a common point. You can notice it here. So the silk cotton has that. The leaves are attached at a common point at the tip of the petiole. Example, silk cotton, you can notice this palmately compound leaf. So pinnately compound leaf, you can notice it in case of neem leaf. So they have given the example of neem leaf. So the next point that you have to remember is phyllotaxy. See, the arrangement of leaves on the stem or branch, we call it as phyllotaxy. The arrangement of leaves on the stem or on the branch, we call it as phyllotaxy. Phyllotaxy is of three types. The arrangement of leaves are of three types. It is alternate, as you can notice in case of hibiscus. The leaves are found in uh, alternate arrangement. On one node, one leaflet arises. The next node, another leaflet, which is in a opposite direction, you can notice. So alternate leaves are noticed. So whereas in opposite, the same node has two leaves arising from the same node. So they are opposite to each other. This arrangement is there. If from a single node, many leaves are arising from a single lobe and they are encircling the stem, we call it as whorled leaf. So phyllotaxy is the arrangement of leaves on the stem or branch. So phyllotaxy is of three types: the alternate phyllotaxy, the opposite, and whorled arrangement of leaf. You can notice. So alternate in this, a single leaf arises at each node. I already told you about each node in an alternate manner. Example, hibiscus. China rose is nothing but hibiscus, mustard is sasve, and sunflower. They exhibit this alternate arrangement of leaves. Opposite each node in this, a pair of leaves arise at each node and they lie opposite to each other. Example, Yakadgida, Calotropis, Guva, or Goa tree, whatever you call it as. So Calotropis Yakadgida, they have milky latex. You might have seen this Yakadgida, they grow wildly. And Guar tree, you can notice the leaves are opposite. So this sort of arrangement where a pair of leaves arise at each node and lie opposite to each other, and they are going to lie opposite to each other, we call it as opposite arrangement of leaves or opposite phyllotaxy. Example for this opposite phyllotaxy is Calotropis or Yakadgida and Guar tree, Sebekai ಎಲೆಗಳು. So you can notice in guar tree also. The whorled leaf in this, more than one leaf, more than two leaves arise at a node and they form a whorl. At one node point, there are more than two leaves arising. ಒಂದು ಸುತ್ತ ಆ ಥರ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, leaves arrange ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ ಒಂದು ಸುತ್ತು. So more than two leaves arise at a node and they form a whorl. So that we call it as the whorled leaves. Example is Alstonia is an example for whorled arrangement of leaves. So we'll discuss the modification of leaves in the next class. As of now, do you have any doubts regarding whatever we have discussed at present? So students, do you have any doubts?